The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Icons of Real Estate podcast. I am your host, Timothy Kaitano, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we have an amazing show for y'all. Now, I always tell y'all, women are taking over. I say this, and I know a lot of you guys are like, well, man, you keep on saying this in every episode, because they are. And, today's guest is going to tell you why. What I love about her is that she was able to take a painful moment and she used that to, build herself up. And now she has, discovered a niche. I mean, I guess, it was always there, but she found new ways of, growing her business through this niche. And ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about 12.5 in closed sales, within, a year, which is incredible. Now, I know you're wondering right there, who is this lady, Timothy? Who is doing all of this? I want to know, how can I get into it? And what is this niche? Ladies and gentlemen, look, don't worry. The answers are right here. Now, I want you guys to help me welcome in the comment section. Just put some clapping emojis. You guys know that I need y'all to help me appreciate this guest. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to the Icons of Real Estate podcast, Jennifer Chaney. Welcome to the podcast, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So excited to be here.
Oh, wow. I'm excited to have you here. I mean, you have an amazing story. But before we, dive in on a lot of things, I want to get to hear how you got into real estate. What motivated you and what inspired you to pursue a career in real estate?
Yeah, well, I like to say I have a bit of a colorful story, as they say. I actually started my journey as a professional dancer. So I did not go to school, or I did not go to college. So I hated school all throughout growing up. Really, dancing was my thing. So I traveled the world dancing from a young age. I became a Radio City Rockette in New York City, danced in Las Vegas, danced on cruise ships. And at the same time, I was dating who is now my ex-husband and decided to finally switch careers. So we were long distance for a long time. And he's like, hey, you gotta make a decision at some point. So I left the dancing world and got into real estate. He was in commercial real estate. And he said, why don't you get into residential real estate? And at that point, I had no idea. I had been a dancer my entire life. That was the only thing at that point that I thought I was skilled at. I hated tests, all that. So I was nervous about the real estate test. I actually failed it twice. I passed it on my third time. And true story. So I ended up getting my real estate license in 2003. So about 21 years ago now, and really just jumped in. And I, as I kind of go through my story, you'll realize that that is just my natural state. I just jump in, sometimes a little too quickly before I really think through things. But jumped into real estate, started with a team, grew pretty quickly, connected with a business partner at that time who is now still a friend of mine. And we started a real estate team where I was. Our niche at the time was new construction. So we represented a lot of onesie twosie builders. So people that, didn't have a full real estate team or office, but were selling, sometimes our largest builder was selling 60 homes a year. So we were selling about 100 homes a year and we grew fast, loved it. And then the market crashed in 2008. And I am very driven by passion and empathy and communication. And so at those listing appointments in 2008, when everyone was crying, as they were losing their houses, I was like, I cannot do this career anymore. I got to get out and do something fun. And so I just pivoted. I went into starting a retail store. Why? I don't know, but something I was always passionate about. And at the time, I was passionate about green living. So to a area that is an oil and ag community, I decided to start a green living store, which is not, there's a disconnect there. But that store did okay, but I learned retail, got in, just figured it out. Ended up falling into a manufacturing business with a product. I blew that company up. We had 3 retail stores in Las Vegas at Caesars Palace, Mandalay Bay, downtown, 27 employees. Our product was sold all over the United States and world, but I was making 0 money. And so when I looked at it, I was like, God, I'm running this big, from the outside, big company, fell into this, kind of, we were Entrepreneur Magazine in 2015, we were one of their top 100 companies. Like from the outside, we looked amazing. But the only thing that was really making me money throughout those years was real estate. And I had a very simple life with real estate. And here I was trying to do this business, and it wasn't really working for me personally. So long story short, I ended up getting out of that business, just completely walked away from it and went back into real estate. And that was probably about a span of 8 years within that gap of real estate, and went back in. But by that time, I had learned new skills. So I learned how to start businesses. I learned how to market a product. And I had kind of a different vision of what real estate was than what I did prior. And so I started a boutique brokerage with a partner, and we did really well. I live in San Diego, California, so our market here is a high price point. So we started to really scale and do well. But in 2019, my own marriage really kind of blew up from the inside out. And now that I'm in this space and talk to a lot of women, what people don't realize when they go through divorce is it affects everything. So even though I wanted the divorce for 10 years prior, and it took me that long to actually do it, it affects everything. It affects your business. It affects your relationships. It affects your family and friends. And I wasn't expecting for it to completely blow up my entire life. So I walked away from that business, that boutique brokerage. I couldn't handle anything. I was emotionally distraught. Even though, again, I wanted the divorce, I think you don't realize I had been with somebody for 16 years at that point, 22 years altogether. And you don't realize the effect of what it's going to do internally. So I needed to take a pause. I needed to just kind of, breathe. I needed to figure out my own stuff and really figure out what the next passion for me was that was aligned with this new single Jen, and what she wanted to do and how she wanted her life to go. And so I did. I took a pause for a little bit, but I was still doing real estate. I just was doing it in my own way. I wasn't managing, a boutique brokerage anymore. I was just doing my own clients. I started to getting into coaching. I became a Success Certified coach, started to coach different realtors, loved that journey. I started to invest. So I started to learn finances, which is odd to say that we as realtors don't really know how to do that, but that is the reality. Most realtors don't manage their finances well. And a lot of us don't even understand real estate investing. So I learned that game, and I started to invest and build my portfolio that way and rebuild my life financially. And as I was doing that, it started kind of, it reinvigorated me to getting back into the business full time. Like I was still dealing with some clients, but it was kind of sparse. And I was like, you know what? There's something here. There's something with what I'm going through right here. I'm rebuilding. I know real estate, but I still made poor choices in my own divorce when it came to the home, the marital home, and what I was going to do with it. And I was like, other people are going through that. So my first appointment was calling the mediator that we used in our own divorce. I did not know her outside of just paying for her services for the divorce. And I sat down with her and I said, I've been in real estate for, at that time, 17, 18 years. I feel like there's something around this niche. Or actually, this was last year. This was that was 19 and a half, 20 years, whatever, that I had been in real estate at that point, I said, I feel like there's something around this niche that's really powerful. What, can I help you? Can I start this with you and help, your people that are going through a divorce? And so we did. We just, I started a network, and she told me about a divorce network that I joined. And that was about a year and a half ago. My first transaction in this space, in this niche, was July of 2023. And it snowballed from there. And now my whole life has changed. Yeah. In the last year, getting into this space and kind of, I feel like really cracking the code with it and mastering it.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. Man, like you have a unique story, from being successful in real estate to, starting a different business, what would you say brought you back to real estate? Because you could have looked elsewhere. You could have looked in different directions, but with everything that happened, you found yourself back into real estate. What do you think drew you into this industry?
Yeah, I think at the time to come back in, it really was money. So
Mm,
when I started that manufacturing business, I was spending a lot of time outside of San Diego. So I
mm,
was in Las Vegas, Nevada, where we really grew it. So I was away from my ex-husband, and he kind of, was like, hey, again, you need to make a choice. Kind of like in the dancing days, you need to make a choice. It was like, you need to make a choice. Do you want to, stay there and, do this and not make much money and be constantly stressed and, that, or do you want to come back to San Diego and move forward? So I kind of made that choice. It was a great choice, at the time, because I needed, again, it's weird to say with these companies, but I feel like this is a lot of companies from the outside. Our overhead was $50,000 a month with that company. So we were doing well, but I personally, as the CEO, was barely, making any money. And I think that's a lot of companies. And
mm.
so from coming from doing well in real estate and then not making any money for so long, that really takes a toll. And it took a toll on my marriage. It took a toll on me. And so, yeah, at the beginning, it was more money driven. And then when I got back in, I had to realize that because I'm passion driven over money always, it
Yeah.
needed to align with both of those. And this
Oh,
niche for me aligns with that. It's passion plus, you know, connecting with the money side.
all right, all right. Now let's talk about it for a minute. What are the current national stats on divorce, and why do you believe that this niche is bulletproof? In a realtor's business, and it's something that's also, I would say, recession proof. So can you just tell us a bit more about
Yeah, so 40 to 50% of first marriages end in divorce in the United
that?
States.
Wow,
That's
40 to
an
50.
insane stat. And 60 to 70% of second marriages end in divorce, which is, insane too. So if you think about it, and then of those 40 to 50% in the first marriages, 53% own a home. So you've got, 50% of first marriages across the United States ending in divorce. Then you've got, of those, amount of money, you've got 53% that own a home. And then usually of that 53%, I like to say it's another 50% as far as if somebody stays in the home and buys out the partner or decides to sell. So when you look at the overall stats, it's unfortunately an upward trend when it comes to divorce. It's just a natural, it's always been here, but I think the way society has changed and, our awareness and COVID and all of that, it really kind of, we're looking at life in a different way now. And you really have to, choose the right partner, these days. And so it is here. It's something that isn't probably going to change for a while as far as those stats. And then the average age of people are 46 for men and 44 for women. So it's usually midlife, obviously, was when that happens. And then the stat that I like the most, because I'll tell you how this plays out in this niche, is not only do you have the potential of getting the one, transaction, but 55% of couples that divorce get remarried within the first 5 years. 25% of those couples get married within the first 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
And crazy enough, I'm one of those statistics. So I'm now married to the love
Wow.
of my life. Yeah.
Oh,
Did not expect it. I, was
wow.
going through a divorce, met him online dating, and he was my first date and my last date for online dating.
Wow. That's
But
amazing. That's amazing.
yeah, so we've been married now for a year, but I'm a part of that married within 5 years stat. And so
Mm,
that's another transaction. So if you're doing business well, you've got the potential of 3 transactions when they need to sell their home and then those two people buy. And
mm,
then most likely within 5 years, they may find another partner and get remarried. So the longevity of this particular niche, when a lead comes to you and you can forecast
mm.
what level they're going to be in your business is just huge. I mean, you can just multiple transactions with this group.
Yeah. So how do you build and maintain relationships with clients going through these times? With you saying that like you can like when you have created the connection, you can have business from the time they're selling the house, to a point where they're looking for a new home, or they're now remarried and they're looking for something as a couple, right? How do you maintain, a relationship throughout that time for your clients?
Yeah. So I teach a lot of realtors in this space now because here's what I think we do wrong as realtors. And this doesn't
Mhm,
really matter what niche you're in. Niche. I always go back and forth with how I say
mhm,
that word. But in the divorce niche, you really have to understand where they're coming from and put yourself in their shoes and speak the same language. So if you've gone through a divorce, obviously that's way more, easy to do. I can instantly connect with them and I know where they're at. But if you haven't been through a divorce, you have to understand that these people cannot make educated decisions in this process. And
mm,
again, I had been in real estate for 16, 17 years before I got a divorce. I still wasn't making, educated decisions when it came to the real estate or the marital home because
mm,
I was all a mess, and you
mm.
don't think that you're going to be that way, but you have to understand that they don't want to sell their home. That's first and foremost. If you start speaking their language and you are saying, you know what? I know you don't want to sell this home. So, what I am is a real estate strategist. I want to help you keep the home. Let's look at all the options that we can exhaust before you then decide if you have to sell their home. Because what happens is a lot of agents that I speak to, let's say a divorce professional gives them a lead, a mediator, attorney, and then all of a sudden they go right into the selling script. Okay, I'm going to sell your home. I'm going to like these people are like, I need to pause here for a second. I don't want to
Mm,
hear that. Their home has been their identity. And that's,
mm,
women especially, that is our identity. And when you're in a divorce and that you may have been thinking of for a long time, your home is even more of an identity. You've poured everything into that home because that became your safe space because your relationship was off the rails.
yeah.
So when that happens, you can't approach them as I want to sell. And so how
Mm,
I think I've done it differently is all of my systems. I have a divorce dilemma guide that I give them that it's a 34-page free guide that I give any divorce person that comes my way. You can download it or um, I give it to them, I print it out and give it to them in person. But it's what it says is it's the number one question I get. Should I buy out my ex or should I sell? And it's a 34-page guide that walks them through the decision. It has a financial tracker in there. Most of these people, unfortunately, a lot of the women have never even been in control of the family finances. So they've never, they don't know if they can actually afford it or not afford it. They are just emotionally saying, yes, I want to keep the home right away because that's again in their identity and they want to keep it for their kids or whichever. But they're not going through the exercise of figuring out if financially they can keep it. So when I come from it from an angle of true service, like I've been in your shoes, let's sit down, let's strategize, let's see how you can keep the home. Do you need a, renter in here? Can you Airbnb it? Is there an ADU that you can put on the property to gain some more, income? What can we do to help you keep the home? Then I go through the process of the expense tracking, and I tell them, I want you to call the mortgage company. Don't go off of what your husband or wife tells you it is. I want you to call, that person, so you understand what your finances are. And we go through that stage. And then at that point, they're so indebted to me because I've been in their worst life space, right now. They've been emotional, they can't think straight. And I've helped walk them A to Z to then decide and make an educated decision for themselves if they can sell or keep the home.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing, man. And thank you so much for being that person. Like you said, I can imagine it's a really emotional and stressful time for a person, and they don't want to be surrounded by people that just look like they're just trying to get the sale. I'm just trying to get my commission and be out of here. You need people that are going to support you. Now, my question to you is, looking back at, you going through your divorce, what were some of the mistakes that you believe you made at the time? And how are you helping your clients not make the same mistakes that you did?
Yeah, so the biggest mistake that I made is understanding and assuming that I had the answers for everything.
Mm,
And because I considered myself an educated, person in a lot of different areas. But you need a divorce team. You have to have the right people. I call it the divorce dream team. You
mm,
have to figure out who those people are. You need a CPA. You have to talk tax, consequences on this. We have capital gains taxes. It
mm.
can greatly affect a sale if you sell as a married couple having that 500,000 capital gain exemption, or if you decide to keep the home and then realize a month later you can't actually keep the home, and now that capital gain exemption goes to 250. You could have just lost 50. I had one client that lost $80,000 in taxes because she made that decision too late. So that was my mistake. I did not create a divorce team. I didn't speak to the right financial advisor. I didn't speak to the right tax CPA, because there's tax strategists and then there's CPAs, and I needed a tax strategist to really walk me through how to rebuild and what to do, and how to make a difference in my future life. So that was mistake number one. Mistake number two is what I call divorce 2.0. And it's what a lot of people don't think of. They don't think about the eventual rebuild side. So for example, you get divorced and your ex, buys you out. And then all of a sudden you meet somebody and you're now going to your old home to drop off the kids. That's divorce 2.0. That's the life that you create after divorce that we don't ever talk about when you're actually going through the divorce, that can seriously affect both your emotional and financial well-being.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Well, I never thought about it, that, you need a whole team. You need a team that's going to help you navigate through this because, I think in our heads, we just think, hey, I don't think it's a complicated issue. You take half, we take half, but there's a lot that goes into that. And I think that your clients are fortunate to have you, in their corner and supporting them through these times. Now, I do want to take this time to give a special shout out to the sponsors of today's episode, and that's the Icons of Real Estate Podcast Network. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, we are in the business of creating real estate podcasts that reach a wider audience. Now, my question to you is, if you were to start a real estate podcast, what would you call it? Comment down below if you're watching this on YouTube. And you know what? Let's ask Jennifer. Jennifer, what would you call your real estate podcast?
That is easy peasy for me because it's the next
Okay.
stage of my growth. But it is called Rise and Rebuild.
Ooh.
And that is for women rebuilding on the other side, financially, emotionally, all of that, because that's a big part, and there's not a lot of education around that side. So
Wow.
Rise and Rebuild.
Rise and rebuild. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. You heard the name. Don't take it, but just be on the lookout. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Oh
true. I
man.
should stack the name first.
Don't worry. It's safe. It's safe. Now, you have a unique story, and it's amazing how, through all the challenges that you're going through, you found your niche, and can you just share with our audience, how everyone's unique story, can help them find a niche in this industry? Because I think a lot of people get into real estate and they have a hard time finding where they really fit in. Is it the commercial side? Is the residential side? Where do I fit in? Where do I find the most success? Can you just share on the importance of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think now more than ever, the way social media has changed, the way the algorithms have changed, the way real estate, has changed. If you find a niche that is passionate and aligned with what you are, and I do feel like it has to be that. I've talked to a lot of realtors that say, "Oh, I just want leads from this divorce niche too," and they're not really passionate about it. It's just another stream for them. You have to be passionate about the niche that you're doing because ultimately it's going to reflect on the people you serve. But I think if my biggest advice is to speak the same language of whatever niche you're in. So really get to know that person. Like we talk about detailed, ideal app, customer avatars, ICAs, like really going deep with that person and then only speaking to that person, cutting out the noise and just saying, I've been afraid to, even on social media, to only talk to the divorce community because I keep thinking, oh, but I've been in the business so long and all my past clients, are going to think that if they're not getting a divorce, they can't come to me. And that's just not the nature, of what happens. The more niche down I go, the deeper I go, the more it actually comes to me because people see it as a passion and they know I'm truly helping people and they just want to be around that, so they know that I'm going to help them too, even if they're not, going through a divorce because they know my story now as far as rebuilding and meeting the love of my life. So that's also another connection point as I've gone deeper. So speaking the same language and truly going deep in any niche you're in, I think is important.
Yeah. So you heard it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be trying to get these leads of people that you really are not, passionate about helping. I think above all, you should have a passion for actually helping a person out more than it is about cashing in a check. And I love that that's what you have been doing, through, your pain, you have now, turned that into a tool to just comfort other people and you've helped people rebuild, and that's amazing. And especially in these times we need a lot of people like you, so thank you so much for everything you've been doing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that
All
was
right.
fun.
All right, so now for everyone out there who is, for whether it's a mom out there, or women or even men out there that are going through um these times and need a person like you to help them, how can they get in contact with you and your team? What's the best way for them to reach out?
Well, I have two different ways. So one is just my website, jenniferchaneyhomes.com. I'm located in San Diego, California. But I'm also a part of a national network called Vesta, Vesta. And we help divorce people all over the United States connect with professionals in their state. So that's really, I'm passionate about that. And then for realtors who want to learn about this niche too, it's divorcenichemastery.com. And I'm passionate about helping people in this space too and helping realtors really understand it because I think we need more
Yeah,
of us, me, in the United States helping these people.
definitely, definitely. So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard that. The details are in the description. So, you know what you need to do. Give them a call, and trust me, you will not regret it. This is the best way for you to rebuild, for you to rise and rebuild. Right? Jennifer, you have been an amazing guest. Thank you so much. One thing that I love about you is you are humble, you are, definite, you have a passion for just helping out people. And that's why you're even trying to help out other agents, find
Yeah.
success in this niche. What I find amazing is like you are so humble. You're not even talking about figures. You're like, no, I made this much. I made this much in production. Like I was the one looking at them and I was getting shocked. But you are very humble about it. And I think, the industry definitely needs more people like you. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're hearing this right now and you want mentorship, you want guidance on how to navigate this amazing niche, I think you should definitely go over to, divorcenichemastery.com. And trust me, you will not regret it. Jennifer, thank you so much. You have been amazing. From the Icons team and myself, thank you so much for being an amazing guest.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you got this far, and I think this has definitely added, a lot of value in your life. So hit the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're not watching this on YouTube, share this with your friends. Share this with your social circle. Trust me, they will love you forever. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been your host Timothy Kaitano with the amazing Superwoman, and I would say a woman that has helped a lot of people rise and rebuild. Ladies and gentlemen, help me appreciate Jennifer Chaney. Thank you so much.